Hello, DFS community. Welcome into the Week 12 edition of one of the most accurate DFS shows in the industry. This is episode number 92 of the Adjusted Line Play Report, where we do take a deep dive into the play in the trenches to determine game script and player outcomes. This show is presented by Zilla Fantasy Elite. I am your host, Todd Hoffman. You can find myself over on Twitter at Todzilla1337. And you can find Zilla Fantasy Elite over on Twitter at Zilla Fantasy. All right, folks. Gonna kick it off. No weirdo early games or anything like that. So we can kick right into the main slate here. We're gonna have 11 games on the main slate. All Sunday, if you're in the central time zone, they start at noon. Then the other one's starting a little after 3 o'clock. So we're going to go through the main slate for you and then hit Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, and get you set for Week 12. And hopefully get those lineups and those decisions all correct. Any of your prop bets, all of that stuff made a little bit easier here with Zilla Fantasy Elite. All right, we're going to kick it off. Number one game slate on the week here on the main slate anyway. New England heading into Cincinnati. It's a 51.5 Vegas game total here, so pretty high. And we do have New England as 7-point road favorites here against Cincinnati. Gives them a 29.25 team implied total. Cincinnati at 22.25, and those are good for second and 11th best team implied totals on the main slate out of 22 teams. Looking at the New England side, we've been taking a lot of sacks, number 28, but Cincinnati not generating hardly any sacks this season, so they're number 31. I would say this is probably pretty good for the pass game. They should have plenty of time to throw in this. Who's going to benefit the most in New England from this? I'm not really sure regarding like deep threats or anything like that. Obviously, Diggs seems like he is the best receiver that they have there. But they should have time to throw in this matchup, which probably means a little less dump-offs and passes to the tight end here. And then pass DVOA, red-green matchup here. New England number 4 on offense, Cincinnati 32 on defense. I expect the pass game to be very, very explosive here. Really, really good here for Drake May and company. Should have time to throw. Should be very, very effective, very efficient, and very explosive in that pass game this week. Run game, Cincinnati equally as bad, 32nd in run stopping, 31st in run DVOA. New England 17th, so middle of the pack in run blocking. Run DVOA, though, number 26, have not been very good in that department. We do have Travion Henderson looking really good the last couple of weeks, but then we do have Ramondre Stevenson coming back this week, so it could be kind of a split backfield there. Not really sure if Henderson has done enough to warrant getting a significant snap share in this, but probably two people I'd be interested in avoiding in DFS, but likely having in some sort of lineup decisions. If I have a couple running backs are a little short in there, I do think they make pretty good flex options or running back twos in a week like this, especially if they're going to be up 7. They may be running a little bit more and could see that come to fruition, or it could just be a pass game where, hey, they get up a bunch via the pass attack, because that should be super explosive. That run game, they haven't been super great in the run department there, but Cincinnati's so bad on defense that probably doesn't matter for that New England offense. Now, on Cincinnati side, they're number 9 in offensive pass protection. New England 22nd, haven't been generating a ton of sacks. I'd expect Cincinnati not to take a ton of sacks in an environment like this. And we do have Joe Burrow practicing in full this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Still indeterminate in terms of whether or not he will play this week in Week 12. If he doesn't, Joe Flacco and his shoulder injury should be going, and they should have time to throw the ball against New England. Pass DVOA, New England 28th, Cincinnati 20th. Would lead to believe Cincinnati should be pretty effective when they do pass. Plenty of time to throw. Pass DVOA very good there. T. Higgins probably going to be getting the lion's share of targets this week. Andre Yelchavas, probably somebody that you can look at too as a deep dart throw in DFS. especially if New England's up. Cincinnati's going to be forced to pass, and you may see him with quite a bit of run this week. Run game, Cincinnati 21st in run blocking, New England 4th in stopping the run. So I'd expect Chase Brown probably going to get hit at or behind the line of scrimmage frequently in this matchup against Cincinnati. Against the Patriots. Run DVOA, though, kind of flip-flop there. Cincinnati number 5 in run DVOA, New England 13th in run DVOA. Slight favor there for Cincinnati. Really to say, hey, probably getting hit at or behind the line of scrimmage frequently here, but a volatile run game this week where, hey, you're getting a lot of at or behind line of scrimmage runs, but then you're ripping off 8-10-yard runs as well. Look for that to be the case for Chase Brown, maybe getting bobbled up. And then he has 3 or 4 carries this week that get him, net him 60 or 70 yards on those 4 or 5 carries. And then he ends up having a decent week based off of that. But it does look like run game volatile. Pass game should be a lot more effective than we have seen them, minus Jamar Chase. And New England should be very good moving the ball. I do like the Vegas game totals here, look pretty good. And nothing really too crazy here other than New England plays very slow. Cincinnati plays very fast. Probably nothing too crazy that you can glean from there other than Cincinnati may get a lot of plays off, which is good for their offensive environment, especially if they're down. All right, and we have 2 games actually tied for the second best on the main slate, and they're during the early windows. The Vegas game totals for them, 50.5. Again, second best on the main slate. Detroit and the Giants in Detroit. We have Detroit as 12.5-point home favorites here on that 50.5 game total. That gives them a 31.5 team implied total. Number 1 on the main slate. Giants at 19th, actually 18th on the main slate. Giant side, pass protection, number 23. Detroit 5th in pass rush. I'd expect probably Jameis Winston. Sounds like he's going to be starting here. Jackson Dart out with injury. Probably going to be under a lot of duress and needing to get the ball out a little bit quicker or making mistakes, strip sacks. He's very good at turning the ball over. Detroit's defense probably in play here, considering that Vegas line and the expectation for them to be up. Pass DVOA-wise, Detroit even better at number 4. Giants at 21. Would not expect this pass game to be very effective based off of this matchup on paper. Watch out for that. Who's going to benefit from this? Hey, they need to get the ball out quick. Probably Tyrone Tracy, probably Theo Johnson, some of these tight ends, and who's ever underneath. Wan'Dale Robinson going to be the biggest beneficiaries here. Run blocking side, even up run blocking on 18 and 18 for run stopping, run blocking. Run DVOA, Detroit number 9, Giants in the middle of the pack there at 16. Slight favor for Detroit's defense. All to say, Giants probably going to be struggling to move the ball. The run game does look like the better of the 2 matchups, and it's even at best, if not below average here for this week. So rough game here for the Giants. And then Detroit side, I do like that defense to be able to create some turnovers, potentially score off of what Jameis Winston does. So watch out for that. Detroit side, 13 in offensive pass protection. Giants 17th in the pass rush. Pretty even matchup there. Nothing really to write home about. Pass DVOA, though, Detroit number 9, Giants 20th. I'd expect Detroit to be explosive here with the standard day at the office and how the plays are getting called now. I think Jameson Williams is actually going to have a pretty solid matchup here. Amon-Ra St. Brown probably in the same boat. I'd expect that pass game to be humming between those two in a matchup like this. And that run game should be very, very, very effective. Run blocking for Detroit 13th, Giants 31st in stopping the run, and then run DVOA, Detroit very explosive at number 8, Giants giving up lots and lots of explosive plays at number 32, dead last. So would expect Detroit's offense to be very, very effective passing the ball, even more effective running the ball. These are matchups where, hey, they're up a bunch like this. I could see David Montgomery getting multiple touchdowns in a matchup like this because they're up. They're going to lean on him, pound him when they're up by 2 or 3 scores in the third quarter and beyond. So I'd expect David Montgomery to have a big game here. And then hopefully if you got any pass game players that they or the reason that Detroit gets up, because otherwise, once they're up a few scores, if those have come from Jahmyr Gibbs or Montgomery to get him there, I think it's going to be the Gibbs and Montgomery show to close it out. Will be an interesting one. Giants do play quick at number 8 for pace of play. Detroit is slow at 28th there for neutral situation pace of play. Other game on the main slate, again in the early window here, Indianapolis at Kansas City with that 50.5 game total. Kansas City 3.5 point home favorites, giving them a 27-point team implied total, tied for 4th best on the main slate. Indianapolis at 23.5 is tied for 10th best on the main slate. As you can see up here, Indianapolis green across the board on offense. Kansas City white across the board, kind of middle of the pack on defense. So pass protection wise, Indy number 7, not taking a lot of sacks. Kansas City middle of the pack at number 14. Nothing too crazy here. Probably a standard day for Daniel Jones and having an okay amount of time to pass it. Pass DVOA wise, Indianapolis number 7, very explosive. Kansas City middle of the pack, a little bit below average there at number 18. I'd expect to be able to see some explosive plays in the pass game here against Kansas City. And then run blocking looks like the better matchup. Indianapolis number 4 in run blocking, Kansas City 19th in stopping the run. I'd expect Indianapolis to be able to gain positive yardage on most of their runs. And then run DVOA wise, number 11, Kansas City almost dipping into the top 10 at number 11 there. So I expect Jonathan Taylor moving the ball forward, maybe not as explosive as he has been against this Kansas City defense, but it is still a pretty good matchup. So, somewhere in between 85 to 110 yards and a touchdown for him, I think is well within reason. Considering how well he has played this season, that's kind of a disappointment. Hey, at 80 yards and a touchdown, typically you're pretty happy from your running back for that, but he's been dominant and probably doubling up that fantasy point total most of his weeks this season. Kansas City side, offensive pass protection number 11, Indianapolis number 19. Nothing too crazy there, but Patrick Mahomes should have a little bit of time to throw. And this pass DVOA will be a little interesting. Kansas City number 6 in pass DVOA, so they've been pretty explosive. Indy is number 14 in pass DVOA. This could be improving. Traded for Sauce Gardner. I think they're getting their other cornerback back from injury this week, so the outside might not be very good. That's typically been Tyquan Thornton, Xavier Worthy, I believe, out there, kind of running the more outside where you'd expect those corners to be. I think the middle will probably be more open, so Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice probably a little bit better in this matchup. It's nothing too crazy. Should be somewhat explosive there for Kansas City with some time to throw. So I do like the Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice combo here against Indy's defense. Run game, Kansas City's been really good. Number 8 and number 4 in run blocking and run DVOA. Indianapolis number 9 in run stopping, so that's pretty even matchup. Nothing too crazy there, but the run DVOA, Indianapolis 19, Kansas City again number 4. I'd expect that run game to actually be fairly explosive here in this matchup against Indianapolis. So be curious. Does look like Indianapolis, plus matchup on the pass game here, should be able to move the ball. The run game actually even a little bit better here for Indianapolis. Again, should be moving the ball just fine. Kansas City is in plus matchups on the pass game, so that will be good. And then this run game could be very explosive. Typical day in terms of getting stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage, but then ripping off some bigger runs. I think it'll be an interesting one here, that 50.5 in Kansas City. I don't know what the weather is going to be like out there, but I do think certainly possible that this game goes over that 50.5 game total. Will be an interesting one to see, who's getting that. Alec Pierce, if you're in some tournaments, maybe pretty good leverage off of some of maybe more popular Jonathan Taylor's and things like that. So will be a good one to watch. I do like the over actually on this Vegas game total. Kansas City 27 feels pretty good, but I think Indianapolis can get better than 23.5 on their game total. All right, now we got a pair of games tied for the 4th best on the main slate. We have Jacksonville heading into Arizona. Jacksonville actually 3-point road favorites here. And this these two games tied for 4th on the main slate are at 47.5 for their Vegas game total. So Jacksonville 3-point road favorites gives them a 25.25 team implied total, good for number 6 on the main slate. And then Arizona at 22.25 is 11th best, and I believe that's tied for 11th. Jacksonville 21 pass protection, Arizona 20 pass rush. Pretty standard day at the office. I would expect Trevor Lawrence to be, again, standard day at the office, maybe a little less pressure than he's used to this season, which should be a little bit of a benefit there for the pass game. Pass DVOA-wise, Jacksonville 23rd, Arizona 12th. Wouldn't expect them to be very explosive here against this Arizona defense, despite having some time. So did get Brian Thomas Jr. ruled out for that, so adjust your lineups accordingly. Haven't really been paying much attention to that pass game this season, so I don't know who's the biggest beneficiary here for Jacksonville. They are out Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter now, so they'll be relying a lot more on Jacoby Myers and Diami Brown, Parker Washington. We did see Tim Patrick getting involved last week. So watch out for them in the pass game, I guess, but wouldn't expect a ton of explosion. Run game does look very effective, number 5 and number 6 for Jacksonville, so that run game has been great this season. Arizona really bad in that department, number 30 in stopping the run, number 24 in run DVOA. So I'd expect Jacksonville to be able to run the ball very effectively. Travis Etienne does seem like the running back one, but we did have Bashal Tutin last week actually heavily involved there, so I think his role is cut down a little bit, but both of them actually should be pretty good in here. If you need a deep flex play, I think Bashal Tutin is certainly possible this week. Arizona side, number 29 in pass protection, been pretty bad, but Jacksonville 29th in that pass rush. I'd expect Jacoby Brissett to have some time to throw the ball. Jacksonville, middle of the pack in pass DVOA at 16. Arizona on offense at number 22, so should have some more time to throw the ball than they're used to. I wouldn't expect the pass game to be super explosive. That's kind of what Jacksonville's defense does, is just play good defense. They don't really rush the passer all that well. And then on the run game, looking pretty poor here for Arizona. They're 29th in run blocking, 27th in run DVOA. Jacksonville 13 and 8. Arizona is going to be moving the ball. It's going to be through the air, which is probably pretty good for your Brissett shares and your Michael Wilsons and your Trey McBride. So watch out there. It's probably going to be how Arizona moves the ball. Jacksonville should be very good running the ball. Both teams relatively quick. Jacksonville number 8 neutral situation. Arizona number 12 in neutral situation. All right, and the other game tied for number 4 on the main slate is also in the late window. Philly into Dallas, so NFC East matchup here. Philadelphia actually 3-point road favorites on that 47.5 Vegas game total, giving them a 25.25 team implied total, good for number 6 on the main slate. Dallas at 22.25, tied for 11th. Offensive pass protection for Philadelphia, number 20. Dallas 25th in the pass rush. Would expect Philadelphia, based off of paper, to have a little bit more time to throw the ball in a matchup like this. Typically, the more time that they have to throw has benefited Devonta Smith more than A.J. Brown, but keep an eye out for that. Philadelphia number 8 in pass DVOA, Dallas number 30. I think they've gotten some pieces here on defense to boost up their numbers here better than they are on paper. But on paper here, Philadelphia should be very effective passing the ball. Again, if they got time to throw, Devonta Smith and Goddard, I think, actually do pretty well in those environments. Run blocking side, Philly been pretty bad in terms of getting beyond the line of scrimmage. They're 30th, Dallas number 14 in stopping the run. I'd expect this to not be particularly great for Saquon Barkley, probably getting hit at or behind the line of scrimmage fairly frequently. And then Philly run DVOA number 20, Dallas 29. A little bit more of a volatile matchup here. Again, not very effective on a play-by-play getting positive yardage, but could rip off a few big runs here against this Dallas defense. Again, they've gained some people in the last couple of weeks that I think makes them a little bit better than what you see on paper here for their defense. On the Dallas offensive side, number 3 in pass protection, not taking a lot of sacks. Philly number 14, middle of the pack. Based off of what we see on paper, would expect Dallas to have a decent amount of time to throw. Nothing crazy, but a decent amount there. And then pass DVOA-wise, Philly very good at number 6, Dallas number 11. So time to throw, not very explosive. Probably going to lead to more of a CD Lamb and Ferguson type of week. We do see Pickens get very, very heavily involved, but I don't know in a scenario like this where they got time to throw and won't be very explosive. I think that probably leans more towards the, hey, underneath stuff, we're not going to get a ton of explosive plays. It's probably going to be more of the slot and tight end variety, so watch out for that this week. Run game, though, very good, at least on paper. Number 6 for Dallas, 25 for Philadelphia. Should be able to gain positive yardage when they do run the ball. And then the run DVO, Dallas top 10 at number 10. Philly number 17, slight favor there for Dallas. Again, should be able to gain some positive yardage. Explosive plays, probably not too crazy, but should be able to rip off some bigger runs in this matchup. Pace of play, definitely opposite. Dallas number 4, Philly 31 in there. Will be an interesting one. I think this is going to be a close, hard-fought battle. Philly, I do believe, is the better team overall, but a 3-point road favorite seems a little steep in this. I just don't know if I want to say Dallas can overcome that. Based off of this, run game should be effective. Pass game should have some time to throw. Philly's volatile run game and a very good pass game will be interesting to watch. I think it'll be a very good NFL game for us this week. All right, number 6 game total on the main slate in the early window here. Pittsburgh heading into Chicago on a 45.5 Vegas game total. Chicago 2.5 point home favorites gives them a 24-point team implied total. Pittsburgh at 21.5. That is good for 8th and 14th on the main slate. Pittsburgh side 14th in offensive pass protection. Chicago 22nd in the pass rush. I would expect Pittsburgh to be able to have some time to throw the ball. Sounds like it's going to be Mason Rudolph in this matchup. Pass DVOA wise, Pittsburgh number 24, Chicago 22. Again, does look like Pittsburgh's been not great in that department, but this should be a little bit better matchup for them compared to what they've been seeing so far this season. So wouldn't expect this pass game to be crazy good, but it's also a pretty solid matchup to actually be able to move the ball. And then run blocking wise, Pittsburgh number 14, Chicago 28. Expect them to move the ball very effectively when they do run it, gaining positive yardage. And that run DVOA 13, Chicago at 28. They should be very explosive too when they're running. And I think Chicago is down like 3 linebackers. They're going to be relying on like a 5th round rookie linebacker to be leading the charge this week. So I'd expect Jaylen Warren probably to have a very, very good game in this environment against Chicago, especially if this pass game is not a weak link in this matchup. I think that can keep the offense balanced, and it's going to be a really, really good week here for Jaylen Warren against this Chicago defense. And then Chicago offensive side, pretty even in the pass game. Number 12, pass protection. Pittsburgh, number 12, pass rush. Standard day at the office for Caleb Williams. Pass DVOA, Chicago 14, Pittsburgh 11. Even up matchup typically in those scenarios. I say studs eat. I don't know if Chicago's necessarily got that, but they got some pretty decent receivers there in DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. I just don't know if they're elite NFL talents at this moment. But yeah, not looking like a terrible matchup here. Pretty even day. Pass game should be okay. Not going to slow them down. It's not going to be providing any benefit, and that happens at times. Run game does look like the better environment here for Chicago's offense as well. So number 3 in run blocking, Pittsburgh 16th in stopping the run. Should gain positive yardage on most of their attempts. And then run DVOA, Chicago number 9, Pittsburgh 18. Again, favor in the offense here. I expect both games, run games, to be able to move the ball very effectively against the other defense. And then the pass game, kind of an even up matchup. Weird one here, but yeah, expect basically that. Run game to be effective. Pass game will make it so they can continue moving the ball. May see some quite a bit of scoring actually in this. Depending on what the weather is like too, I wouldn't be too terribly shocked if there's quite a few field goals in this where, hey, it's now 3rd and 5 or something, and then they're running a pass play and then they don't make it and they end up kicking field goals there. So will be an interesting to watch kind of matchup there where both offenses probably relying on that run game to move the ball, move the chains, and then that pass game just to kind of keep them afloat on some of their opportunities when they do have to pass it. Alrighty, next game, 7th best on the main slate here. Jets heading into Baltimore to take them on a 44.5 Vegas game total. Baltimore 13.5 point home favorites, gives them a 29 point team implied total, which is 3rd best on the main slate. And then Jets actually at 15.5 is 21st on the main slate. At 15.5, they are not the worst. Very, very interesting there. That is not the worst one on the week. Offensive pass protection, Jets number 32, Baltimore 27th in that pass rush. Expect Tyrod Taylor to have some time to throw the ball against his Baltimore defense, not taking a lot of sacks. Pass DVOA, Jets 29th, Baltimore 21. I think Baltimore is improving. They finally got all of their pieces back on defense, so they're probably a little better than what these numbers suggest. Tyrod Taylor in general, it's a below average matchup, but not a terrible matchup for him to come into against his Baltimore defense. In the run game, pretty even up. 22 for run blocking, Baltimore 24 in run stopping. Even day there. And then run DVOA, Jets number 12, Baltimore 22. Again, Baltimore getting their pieces back. They're probably better than what this states on paper. But if the Jets are going to move the ball, this is the best matchup. It's probably a Breece Hall type game here. If they're going to be moving the ball, it's probably on the shoulders of Breece Hall. Baltimore side 27th in pass protection, Jets 20th in that pass rush. Nothing crazy here, a little bit below average there, but with that Jets pass rush not being great, Lamar Jackson and company probably have a little bit of additional time to throw compared to what they've perhaps been used to so far. DVOA-wise, Baltimore number 12, Jets number 31. They should be pretty explosive when they do pass the ball. It's going to be good for Zay Flowers, probably going to be good for Andrews and Likely as well in a matchup like this where they're allowed to be a lot more explosive. And then the run game does look like a plus matchup. Even matchup. Baltimore 20 in run blocking, Jets number 11, so maybe a few stuffed at the line type of runs here for Baltimore, but then the run DVOA, a little flip-flop. Baltimore 7, Jets 14, a little bit more volatile. Hey, bottled up Henry for several runs, and then he rips off a big one, bottled up again, then rips off a big one. Will be an interesting one there, but it does look like Baltimore, pass game, probably going to be how they move the ball effectively against Jets. The Jets are going to need to run the ball. Both teams play slow, 22nd and 27th in the neutral situation for Jets and Baltimore there. Don't see this one shooting out necessarily. Baltimore's 29-point game total could come at the helm of the defense, scoring some points too, but the offense doesn't look like it's necessarily going to be a juggernaut in this. Lamar Jackson, though, I do like his output in this matchup. All right, number 8 game total on the main slate now drops down to 41.5. Minnesota heading into Green Bay. Green Bay 6.5 point home favorites there in an NFC Central matchup. That gives Green Bay a 24-point team implied total, which is 8th best on the main slate. Minnesota at 17.5 is 19th on the main slate. Minnesota offensive side, number 30 in offensive pass protection. Green Bay actually number 24 in that pass rush. I do think they get pressure. They just don't get a ton of sacks, so heads up for that. Minnesota may be under a little bit of duress, but not taking sacks there for McCarthy. Then pass DVOA, Minnesota 28th in the reg, Green Bay 13. Would not expect Minnesota to be very explosive here against Green Bay in this matchup. Run blocking wise, very even. Minnesota number 7, Green Bay 6th. Run DVOA, Minnesota 14, Green Bay 16. That does look like the better of the two matchups. While Minnesota might not be getting sacked, the pass game does look like it will be inefficient in a matchup like this. Then the run game does look like the best of the matchups here. Aaron Jones probably going to be pretty effective. And if they're under pressure, I'd expect him to get quite a bit of run in the pass game as well. On the Green Bay side, they're number 5 in pass protection, not taking a ton of sacks, but Minnesota number 5 in that pass rush. Probably going to be under a little bit more duress than they're used to, but this is a pretty even matchup. And then a pass DVOA, Green Bay number 5, Minnesota 19, so it's pretty heavily in the favor here of Green Bay. I'd expect them despite maybe being under a little bit of pressure, to be a little bit more explosive in a matchup like that. And then the run game, even to a little bit below average. So Minnesota 7th in stopping the run, Green Bay 9th in run blocking. I don't think Jacobs, I didn't see if he's been ruled out yet or not, but if he doesn't play, it looks like Emmanuel Wilson would be taking over most of those duties. Run DVOA, Minnesota 12, Green Bay 17, so a little bit below average there. Interesting one here. I would expect the pass game here for Green Bay to be the way that they move the ball against Minnesota, which is probably highly volatile because they do have an interesting defense there with Brian Flores. Then that run game kind of an even to below average matchup. And then Minnesota a little bit more effective running with perhaps some time to throw the ball, but not very effective passing. I do see why Vegas has us down at 41.5. Doesn't look like a great environment for either offense outside of Green Bay pass game. Alrighty, the number 9 game total on the main slate at 40.5 is Seattle heading into Tennessee. And we have Seattle, a whopping 13-point road favorite here over Tennessee. That gives Seattle a 26.75 team implied total, which is 5th best on the main slate. And as I had talked about with the Jets being at 15.5 and not the worst team on the main slate, that is Tennessee at home with a 13.75 team implied total as the worst team here. Pass protection wise, Seattle number 2, Tennessee actually number 7 in the pass rush, generating a decent amount of sacks, at least when it is unexpected. So Seattle might have a little bit of a need to get that ball out a little bit quicker in a matchup like this. Pass DVOA wise though, number 1, Tennessee number 23. Jackson Smith and Jigba really tearing it up this season. I think, in a matchup like this, even if they do need to get the ball out quick, he could be more of a volume play versus more of an efficiency play this week. But it should be very effective when he does get the ball, even if it is, on a quicker route variety. He should be very effective getting those passes. Otherwise, expect maybe some a little bit quicker passes going to the running backs and the tight ends here in a matchup like this. Cooper Kupp maybe a little bit more involved in a game like this and comes out and pops off. So watch out for that. Run blocking wise, Seattle number 24, Tennessee 17. Slight favor there for the defense. Probably getting hit at or behind the line of scrimmage a little more than you'd like to as a Seattle fan. But run DVOA wise, Seattle not been very explosive. They're number 22, but Tennessee 26 in that run DVOA. A slight favor there for Seattle. Almost an even matchup. Typically, I say studs eat in that. I know a lot of people think Kenneth Walker is a stud at the running back position. So in a matchup like that, I think he's probably a little more effective than Charbonnet, who's more of a grinder and just getting positive yardage versus an explosive type of back. So it will be an interesting one to see there. It does look like needing to get the ball out quick, but that pass game should be very, very effective. So Sam Darnold probably doing most of the heavy lifting in a matchup like that. I know I've heard some other people really say that they like the Seattle running backs this week against Tennessee. Certainly understandable if Seattle's going to be up big, but it doesn't look like that's that great of a matchup. Seattle's probably going to get up big because of the pass game, at least what I'm seeing here on the adjusted line play report. Tennessee offense should be very bad. They're 31st in pass protection and pass DVOA. Seattle's very good on defense. 7th in the pass rush, which is their worst category. 3rd in the pass DVOA. Tennessee shouldn't be very good passing the ball. Expect lots of sacks, lots of pressure, probably some turnovers. And then stopping the run. Seattle 3rd in stopping the run. 2nd in run DVOA. Tennessee 19 in run blocking, 30th in run DVOA. Going to be really, really tough sledding here for Tennessee. That 13.75 team implied total seems a little high based off of what I see here from the Seattle team. Especially they should be pretty explosive moving the ball. Run game is at worst an even matchup. So they should be able to put up some points, which is going to put pressure on Tennessee to kind of get one-dimensional, and Seattle's been very good on defense this season. So we'll be curious to see how that turns out, but I'd be fine betting the under on this 13.75 team implied total from Denver. Doesn't look very good there. if you're placing some prop bets over 1 interception, I think is definitely on the line for Cam Ward. All right, and our other matchup is tied for 9th on the main slate here is New Orleans heading into the Dome of Atlanta on that 40.5 game total. Atlanta 2-point home favorites here with Kirk Cousins at the helm. Gives them a 21.25 team implied total, 15th best on the main slate. New Orleans 19.25 team implied total, 17th best on the main slate. Saints side 17th in pass protection. Atlanta number 2 in the pass rush. I'd expect them to be able to get after Tyler Shuck here in this matchup. Pass DVOA, Saints 26, Atlanta 10th in pass DVOA. Really looking bad for the New Orleans Saints pass offense on this. Not going to be explosive, going to be under duress, needing to get the ball out quicker. Who is that going to benefit there? Probably, the tight ends, the running backs, Alvin Kamara and Johnson at the tight end, I think, get a little more involved this week. Olave can run some underneath routes, so if they can adjust and get him, off of some intermediate or deeper routes in this, I think he could have a decent time too, but not looking good for that pass game. The run game looks like the better of the 2 matchups, even though Saints have been bad in that category, 26th in run blocking, 31st in run DVOA. Atlanta 29th in stopping the run, 25th in run DVOA on defense. All to say, I think if anybody's going to produce in this, it's going to be Alvin Kamara from the Saints. He is their lead running back. It looks like a decent enough matchup here on defense where they should be more effective running the ball than they've been so far this season. In that pass game, needing to get the ball out quick could lead to some dump offs to him. I wouldn't be shocked to see him hit 5 receptions in a matchup like this. But looking bad in general for their offense this week. Atlanta side, number 9 in pass protection, number 14 in the pass rush. A little slight favor there for Atlanta. Kirk Cousins shouldn't have, too terrible of a time in this matchup. Just kind of a standard day for him. Pass DVOA very similar, 19 for Atlanta's offense, 24 for the Saints defense. Slight favor there for the offense, kind of an above average, slightly above average matchup here for the Falcons pass game. They will not have Drake London in this matchup, so Darnell Mooney probably de facto wide receiver number 1. Pitts probably getting more involved as well. And then a lot of dump offs, I would assume, to their running backs in this, mainly Bijan Robinson. And then speaking of him, that run game does look pretty neutral. 25th run blocking, Saints 26th in run stopping. Even matchup. Run DVOA, Atlanta number 11, Saints number 10. Again, even matchup. In these even up scenarios, I say studs eat. Bijan Robinson is a stud. He can overcome a matchup like this where it's defensively kind of a stalemate. He will just be better than the opposing defense and produce some pretty good results. Combined with what that pass game matchup looks like, I do like Atlanta to win this game. I think that is a correct game. Vegas line there from them. And then Bijan Robinson, really probably the biggest beneficiary here of all of these, along with Alvin Kamara on the opposite side. All right, final game on the main slate here. We do have Cleveland heading into Las Vegas on a 36-point Vegas game total, really low there. We do have Vegas actually has 3.5-point home favorites on that 36-point total. Gives them 19.75 for their team implied total. Cleveland 16.25. Those are good for 16th and 20th respectively. Cleveland side 22nd in pass protection. Vegas 26th in pass rush. I'd expect Shedeur Sanders here to have some time to throw the ball in this matchup. Unfortunately for him, they are 32nd in pass DVOA. Vegas 15th in pass DVOA on paper. Again, this was coming with, who do we have starting over there? Flacco, I think, to begin the season was over there in Cleveland, or who did we have? I can't even remember anymore. And then went to Dillon Gabriel here, and both, just kind of underneath passes with this particular offense. So Doesn't look like it's too bad of a situation here for Sanders to have time, but shouldn't be very explosive. Then the run game is very similar. 31st in run blocking for Cleveland. Vegas 23rd in stopping the run. That's not terrible, but not great for the offense. And then run DVOA 29th for Cleveland. Vegas 15th. Wouldn't expect a lot of explosive plays here from the Cleveland side. On paper, it looks like they're just going to be behind the chains a little bit in most of the scenarios here. If they are moving the ball, it's going to be of the dink and dunk variety. 5-yard gain, 4-yard gain, 5-yard gain, 6-yard gain, 1-yard gain type of a situation here with not a ton of explosion. On the Vegas side, though, they're 25th in pass protection. Cleveland number 3 in that pass rush. Would expect Vegas to be under a lot of pressure here from Cleveland in their defense. Pass DVOA 30th for Vegas. Cleveland number 7 in pass DVOA. Both red-green matchups here. Pass game should be very, very brutal here for Geno Smith. Would expect him to take some sacks. Would expect him to perhaps throw some interceptions and not be very explosive here on offense. The run game, even worse, is I don't think I've ever seen this in the history of the adjusted line play report, but Cleveland's defense number 1 in stopping the run, number 1 in run DVOA. Vegas 32nd in run blocking, 32nd in run DVOA. Can't get any worse than that. Ashton Jeanty, considering the pass game was awful, the run game is truly the worst you can get in the adjusted line play report. Both number 1s versus number 32 on offense. Does not look like a good game for Ashton Jeanty here. Considering how that offense is gone and what he has done in games, I would be fine sitting Ashton Jeanty, as difficult as that is. Number 1, probably first round draft pick in your draft. You probably have a better running back on your squad than him to put in this week. This does not look good for them. That Vegas game total of 19.75 seems awfully high. I am fine betting the under on Vegas's total. Cleveland, the dink and dunk masters, probably 16 is a little high for them. This Vegas game total of 36, I am pretty confident that it won't even hit that. And I'm just going to actually go ahead. I'm going to hit the upset. I don't think Vegas scores very many points here at home against this Cleveland defense. Cleveland probably guts out some sort of like 9-6, 9-3, 6-3 victory. I would not be that surprised if neither of these teams even crests double-digit points in this matchup. 10-7, something like that. It's going to be a bad game, and bet that under. I think Cleveland definitely covers this 3.5 Vegas line and actually probably takes the victory here in Vegas just based off their defensive matchup. All right, welcome to the iLink game matchups. Now on the adjusted line play report, we have Sunday Night Football. Tampa Bay heading into the Dome of Los Angeles for the Rams. To 49.5 Vegas game total. When it's that high, I always say, hey, your optimal lineups are probably including all of the skill players, quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, and none of the kickers or defenses. On that 49.5 Vegas game total, we have the Rams as 6.5 point home favorites. 28 team implied total for them, 21.5 for Tampa Bay. Does sound like Godwin's back for Tampa Bay here, but offensive pass protection, Tampa Bay number 4, not taking a lot of sacks. Rams 17th in that pass rush, not generating a lot of sacks despite maybe having some really good individuals there on the defensive line to generate pressure. We probably see that more developed in the pass DVOA numbers. So Tampa Bay 13th, above average there for pass DVOA, but the Rams number 2. Would expect Tampa Bay, even though they may have some time to throw or not take some sacks, probably going to have to grind it out in that pass game to move the ball against this Rams defense through the air. Then the run game, Tampa Bay number 11 in run blocking, Rams number 15. Fairly even matchup there, but the run DVOA, Tampa 24, Rams 4th. Would not expect Tampa Bay to be very explosive or effective here against the Rams in the run game. Doesn't look like a great game here for Tampa Bay. Kind of behind the ball big time in those DVOA matchups. Tampa Bay maybe having some time to throw is their best bet. But yeah, just overall kind of a downer here for Tampa Bay in this matchup. I know I said 49.5 Vegas game total. It's typically when I'm looking to not start kickers or defense in this, but Tampa Bay doesn't look like they're going to be super effective on offense. They may stall out and kick several field goals in this. So I believe their kicker is McLaughlin, something like that. I think he could have a pretty decent matchup here, or a pretty decent game in this matchup. Pretty interesting here for offense defense for the Rams. They're all green across the board, and so is Tampa Bay on defense. So Rams 8th in pass protection, Tampa Bay 10th in pass rush. Pretty even matchup there, but expect Rams probably feeling a little bit of pressure, at least more than they're used to in a matchup like this. And then pass DVOA, Rams number 2, very effective, Tampa Bay number 8. So Rams maybe not as explosive as you've seen them so far this season against this Tampa Bay defense, but even up to maybe a slightly above average type of matchup here for the Rams pass game. And then the run game, Rams number 1 in run blocking, Tampa Bay number 2 in stopping the run. Pretty even there. And then run DVOA, Rams number 3, Tampa Bay number 7. Really interesting one here. This 49.5 Vegas game total seems out of place based off of what I'm seeing here in the adjusted line play report. I think these offenses actually struggle in this matchup on Sunday Night Football. I'd expect something more of a, hey, maybe it's Rams 20-21, Tampa Bay scoring 13-17, somewhere in that range. This 49.5 Vegas game total, despite the offenses being very good and having pretty solid quarterback play, I don't think we're going to see a ton of points in this matchup. So this 49.5, I'm fine betting the under if you are going to do that. And then in terms of island game matchups, if you're trying to get some players in there, I don't know who I'm necessarily attacking. It will be certainly a unique one. I don't know where all the roster percentages are going to go in a matchup like this. You could probably get a little unique considering everybody's going to think, hey, this is a shootout, almost a 50-point Vegas game total. Get a little bit unique in terms of, hey, starting a defense or Tampa Bay kicker in there, and then mix and matching who you want from there. If the Rams are going to be under a little duress, maybe they're passing it a little bit more. Maybe Blake Corum is the one that scores one of their 2 or 3 touchdowns, and he is in the optimal version of the lineups that you need this week. All right, now on to Monday Night Football. We have Carolina heading into San Francisco, also on the 49.5 Vegas game total. So if you saw the previous game, we say, hey, when it's that high, we're looking at all skill players essentially in the main lineup, or the most optimal lineup. San Francisco, 7-point home favorites on that total, gives them a 28.25 team implied total. Carolina at 21.25 for their team implied total. So interesting ones there. Carolina, offensive pass protection, number 18. San Francisco, 32nd in pass rush. Expect Carolina to have some time to throw against the San Francisco defense. They have not been that effective passing the ball, so 27th in pass DVOA, but San Francisco, with all their injuries and everything going on there with their defense, we've seen this number get worse and worse. They're 25th in pass DVOA. So I would expect Bryce Young to be able to move the ball effectively through the air if they choose to throw it. Run blocking wise, Carolina number 10, San Francisco 21st. And then run DVOA, Carolina number 15, San Francisco 20. So it does look like a good run game matchup here for Carolina. Should be able to gain positive yardage when they're running it. Maybe not super explosive, but should be able to score some points here. I think Carolina maybe shocks that 21.25. Seems a little low on here. I know Bryce Young just threw for 400 and some yards, but really, he's struggled to hit 200 yards in most of his matchups in his career. But this does look like a pretty solid matchup here for Carolina against the San Francisco defense. So should be able to score some points. San Francisco, 6th in pass protection. Carolina, 30th in pass rush. All day to throw here for San Francisco. Expect Brock Purdy to be able to be a maestro back there behind center. 3rd in pass DVOA, Carolina 26th in defense on DVOA in the pass DVOA. So very explosive, tons of time to throw, very explosive. Your San Francisco pass catchers should have a good time this week. all said, Brock Purdy should be very good as well. San Francisco side, 15th in run blocking. Carolina, 20th in stopping the run. Slight favor there for San Francisco. And then run DVOA, 21st and 21st for both teams. In those scenarios, we say studs eat. Christian McCaffrey, certainly a stud in the run game. So you can overcome a matchup like this to produce some pretty solid numbers on the ground. All being told, this 49.5 Vegas game total I think might be a little low. San Francisco scoring 28 points with the explosion that they have in the pass game and their pace of play being number 6. And then McCaffrey probably handling business in the run game. I think they can put up over 28 points. Carolina also, I believe, can put up well over 21 in this. 49.5 Vegas game total, I'd be okay betting the over on this one. And then when you're doing your island game stuff, I don't know what those roster percentages are going to look like, but you can certainly get unique on the San Francisco pass side. McCaffrey should be good there, but I don't know if he's going to be your best option for a captain. I honestly think it's going to be Brock Purdy, or coming up here, Carolina should be decent in the run game, but could be somewhat good in this pass game. So I like Purdy in the captain spot, and then getting who you can. Dowdle, maybe somebody, a pass catcher there for Carolina, Ted McMillan, Christian McCaffrey as well, and then trying to figure out from there what makes sense with your salary that's remaining. All right, that's going to do it for this week's adjusted line play report. Hopefully you got a little bit more information to make those correct start sit decisions, your prop bets and everything like that. Go out there and let's win some money together, folks. Thank you. Bye.